All right, so here's my spiel on spurs, my video on spurs. He's untangled here. So you maybe have heard of somebody who had a horse blow up and buck with them, and they spurred them. To either teach them a lesson like you don't want to buck with me, or you'll get spurred, and next time you'll think twice because you'll get spurred. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If I was forked enough, I would probably do the same thing. There was one time in a Brandon pen, I had a horse blow up and buck with me, and I wanted to show off, so I spurred him, and it just made him buck harder. And then he ended up falling over, and then I got drug off as he was getting back up, and then he bucked on and jumped on top of me several times, and I had some cuts and bruises, in some places where I had to get in a yoga position to see him in the mirror. So they're not really necessarily just used for that. And then there's kind of to the untrained rider, to the untrained eye, they might be used to make a horse go faster. But if you think about it, when you bump a horse in the ribs with these to make him go faster, he's going to pick his ribs up away from that. He's kind of going to get a hump in his back is how he's going to travel. And a horse can't travel very fast for very long with his ribs picked up and a hump in his back like that. So if you do have that problem, if you have a horse that when he's walking, he'll stop if you're not kicking him. That's another thing that people will use spurs for that they probably shouldn't, is if you're not kicking on him, he stops. So then you put spurs on, and then it gets to where if you're not spurring him, he stops. So then you've just got spurs on and you still have the same problem. So what you can do is take, the tail end of your rope, or the tail of your macate, or if you have reins with a rommel, and you can start out just tapping him on the butt and then increase it to whatever pressure you have to, a big old smack if you have to, till he'll travel out at a faster walk at the pace that you want. And that when you do that, it gets his hind end kind of under him, and it's easier for them to travel out quicker like that. And then every time he slows up to where you're going to have to boot him to get him going, you just smack him on the butt again, and they'll eventually learn to just move out and not have you cue them, either with spurring them or smack them in the butt. But what they are used for is there are some horses that are born that are just more sensitive than others, and those can turn into some really nice horses if you know what you're doing, to where you just have to put a little bit of pressure with your calf, and they know what you want to do, and they're real snappy, and that's all it takes. But there's some horses that are born that are a little bit more dead-sided, is what you call them. So then that's when you use a spur. And like I said, it's not used to make them run faster or something or punishment, but you can get to where you tap a horse with this spur and he'll move his front end around faster like you want, or move his back end around, or you can get him to side pass. These don't have to be a permanent fixture on a horse or yourself. You can get to where you bump this on a horse, and then it'll eventually get to where you just have to bump him with your calf, and the spur never even makes contact, and he's doing what you want him to do, and then you don't have to use the spurs anymore. As far as the type of spurs, I'm about 6'4", and taller people, they make those spur shanks that come up, and those are supposed to be for taller people because your legs wrap around the horse further, so it's easier to spur. But I like these ones where the shank drops down, so that when I want to spur them, I have to pick up my heel, and have to make a conscious effort to use the spur. So then if a rabbit jumps up or something, and my horse jumps and I clamp down with my legs, I'm not accidentally going to spur him. It's going to be below him. So that's why I like these, and the shank and stuff is a real personal preference. These are kind of some big old-timey Spanish style spurs with this big old rowel. The jingle bobs, I don't really know what the point of them are, except for they make kind of a cool sound. These have heel chains on them. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I read or heard somewhere once that back in the olden days, I don't know, the late 1800s or something, once you had been on a ranch for long enough and gone out with the wagon enough times and became a seasoned hand, if you already had a pair of spurs, the cow boss or somebody would give you a pair of heel chains to kind of show that this guy's a hand and knows what he's doing. And then as you hung around longer and became more handy, you'd get another set of chains. So I don't know if that's true or not. Back when that was popular or came about, people weren't walking around much, so nowadays people work on the ground in the corrals or the Brandon pen a lot, and they'll wear these out pretty fast walking on them, so they're not super practical, but they do kind of help keep your spur from riding up, because the heel of your boot stops them. But other than that, I guess that's kind of my spiel on spurs. I think I talked about everything. Um, I'm not going to get into spur straps and where your buckle needs to be. These are dove wing style spur straps, but I know people get kind of uppity about that stuff, about which side of the boot your buckle's supposed to be on, so I won't even touch on that. But yeah, I think that's all my spiel on spurs, so there you go.